This is the second edition of Joe's Illustrator Tips, where I tell you about stuff I just learned, but you probably already knew. Today's tip's about creating seamless tiles for platformer games and endless backgrounds. This topic is a little more involved than the nugget I shared in the first video. If you'd like to save yourself a lot of time, head on over to opengameart.org. They have some really great and some really crappy assets that make excellent placeholder for your game. If you can't find an artist for your project and you don't mind using graphics that your players have probably seen in a half dozen other games, there are some real gems to be had in the public domain or via simple attribution in your game's credits. On the Open Game Art site, two of my favorite contributors are Kenny, and I won't even try to pronounce his last name, and Clint Bellinger. Apart from those two, a good place to start your search on Open Game Art is the leaderboard for all-time favorites. Kenny and Clint happen to be the top two, so it seems that most folks agree with my opinion about their work. If you hit Google for more resources, sooner or later you're sure to come across the website of Daniel Cook at lostgarden.com. I discovered his collection of freebie assets long before I knew about Open Game Art. His site's a blog. It has a lot more than just art freebies, so you're going to have to do a little digging to find assets. I've listed a few of the tags that he's used in the past to get you started. If you're anything like me, though, you enjoy the aspect of drawing for creating games, you're a do-it-yourself kind of person, and drawing can be a great break from programming, one that lets you still be creative, still be making something. Are you still there? Cool. Let's get started. You'll decide on a size for your tiles when you're designing your game. For this example, I'm creating a tile that's 128 by 128 pixels. That's freaking huge for most scenarios. But that's the beauty of vector-based drawing. You can work in any size that suits your fancy and then export it to any resolution you need. That includes multiple resolutions for a variety of devices or large-scale collages for promo material or smaller scale images like App Store icons. We're going to create a repeatable dirt tile for a side scroller or a platformer game. The shapes I use here are simple, but the technique applies to more complex files. We'll start with a brown square for our base color. We'll fill the entire artboard with the square and remove the outer stroke. I'm horrible at selecting colors, so I usually just stick to the default swatches palette. Now be sure to lock the square because you don't want to accidentally select it or move it. Next we'll add some circles and ovals as debris. We'll start with a single shape centered at each of the four corners of the square. The edges of the square are the seams you want to hide. That's doubly true for the corners. That's where four edges meet. By adding a little rock in our dirt at the corners, we're tricking the eye into thinking that can't possibly be the edge. There's a rock there. The key to seamless tiles is simple. Whatever you do to the top edge, do the same thing to the bottom. Whatever you do to the left edge, do to the right. So once we've added our edge shapes, we can focus on the inside of the tile. As we add more detail to our tile, we'll try to avoid patterns in the placement of rocks. Don't put shapes in a row. Don't space them evenly. The more random, the better. Go crazy in there. Just squash a few circles into ovals and rotate them a bit. But don't add any distinct shapes that'll draw the player's attention. Let's keep it simple. When you're happy with the placement of the inner shapes, it's time to trim the image to the tile bounds. The easiest way to do that is to create a clipping mask. To do that, we'll copy our base rectangle and bring that to the front. Once you have the new rectangle at the top, select all of the objects and then do Object Clipping Mask Make. Now we have a new shape that has all of our stuff. Just to make sure it's a valid seamless tile, I'm going to create another artboard here. Go ahead and make it double the size so that we can have an example of our tiles side by side. Okay, so we're going to take the tile we created and put it at each of the four corners of the new artboard. And we can group them together, but now we see a seamless pattern. Yay! I hope you found this exercise interesting. It's the first step in describing what I'm tinkering with these days, seamless isometric tiles. But that's a topic for another video. If you're into game programming, please check out my upcoming book on monogame. It's a title that was inspired by the games that my students have created over the years, with a little bit of my interest peppered throughout. Thanks for watching.